Well, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the cornbread mafia, Johnny Boone, has he's passed on. And here in Kentucky, that's kind of a bigger deal. Even though we don't kid ourselves, we know what happened there, but I mean, that had been going on for quite some time, and to the best of most people's knowledge, real experience, Johnny and those boys were good people, and they were growing some marijuana, a lot of it, all over the country. Some state they don't even know the true scope or the facts of it. Johnny was already in prison before I went to the federal pen, and Jimmy and Joe Keith and Tommy Lee and that whole bunch, they was already there before I went. I was in prison. We all had the same attorney, and no, I didn't know those guys before I went in. But after I got there, I did get to know several of them. The Bickett boys and some of the other guys I knew real well. I didn't meet Bobby Joe Shoemaker until after I had come out of prison, and him too, of course. Another one of my compatriots had spent a lot of time with Bobby Joe and some of the other boys on that end of the cornbread mafia. And Brian had spent a lot of time with them, and he knew those guys real well. And then, of course, when he come out, I put him to work with us here, and Brian introduced me to that bunch, and they're good boys too. I don't care what anybody says. They was good. They was good guys to me, and they treated my family and everybody I knew with respect. But most of where they're from would tell you that as well. Just don't owe them boys any money, and don't lie and cheat and steal. You do. Sometimes things happen. You get involved in the criminal world. Sometimes things happen. It happens. Don't fuck around. You won't find out. Johnny Boone once ran a multi-state marijuana growing operation known as the Cornbread Mafia. He died at the age of 80. Now they've done a real good job of hiding his health issues, and Johnny wasn't doing very well. If you saw Johnny, you knew it. He just wasn't very healthy. Prison takes its time on you. Being on the lame like he was also takes its time. It's hard on you, man. Hard living takes a toll on your health. Boone died Friday night, which was this past Friday night, and Joe Keith Bickett wrote in a Facebook post Saturday. Joe Keith Bickett is an author, a true author of the Cornbread Mafia stories. So that other dude, not so much. Boone, known to some as the Godfather of grass and the King of pot, was something of a legend. A native of Washington County here in Kentucky, Boone was raised by his grandfather, and as a young man won 4-H competition showing sheep and growing tobacco, according to the 2017 Courier-Journal profile. As an adult, he became adept at a different kind of farming. He grew pot in Belize for a time and served a stint in federal prison after a bust related to that, the Courier-Journal also stated. In 1987, he was caught growing pot in Minnesota and spent over a decade in prison. The bust of the self-named Cornbread Mafia, it wasn't the self, it was the prosecutor that named them that. They did not call themselves until the prosecutor said it. Read the books, complete lie. Involving 29 farms in 9 states, including Kentucky, according to media reports. Scores of people were prosecuted, and I mean scores. You wouldn't believe the people that was arrested over this deal. It was ridiculous. An assistant U.S. attorney described the operation in '89 to the '89 Herald Leader article as the largest domestic marijuana producing organization in the history of the United States. See how proud we are? I'm very proud of these guys. At the time, federal authorities referring to the cornbread mafia as the Marion County Marijuana Cooperative and had formed a special task force to combat it. Well, if you go back and you read Joe Keith Bickett's books, hopefully that Brandon will put a link in here, or you can pick them right up off of Joe Keith's website, or you can pick them up off of the Amazon. You can also get them on Amazon. Joe Keith Bickett, you got to check them out. I've got all 3 books, and they are a hoot to read, man. I couldn't put them down. But this, let's go on. Let's go on. And in between 1985 and 89, they said they seized 182 tons of marijuana with a wholesale value of $364 million of 1985 to 89 money. That's a lot. In the 1989 article, authorities described farms bought specifically for growing marijuana that were outfitted with alarm systems and booby trap fields protected by dogs. And Boone, who by then had been sentenced to prison, was named as the co-op's leader. Well, one of them. Come on, one of them. In 2008, KSP, Kentucky State Police, used aerial surveillance to discover 2,400 marijuana plants on the farm where Boone was living in Washington County. Boone fled and spent nearly 8 years on the run. They was making T-shirts that said "Run Johnny Run" on it. They was making music about him. He was the modern day equivalent of Robin Hood. Okay, so it is what it is. All right. Boone fled and spent nearly 8 years, though, on the run, finally arrested in Canada in 2016. I remember that. It was at a stop sign, by the way. He pled guilty to federal charges that he conspired to possess more than 1,000 marijuana plants with the intent to grow and distribute the plant. And in March of 18, he was sentenced to 4 years and 9 months in prison. Of course, it wouldn't be long before COVID would happen. And at his age, they wanted to get rid of him and get him out of the prison. But I'm sure they tell that too. Bickett, who served time after being convicted as part of the cornbread mafia and later wrote a series of books about it, went on to work with Boone to form a company that sells CBD, which is Bickett and Boone CBD, according to the News Enterprise in Elizabethtown. Boone was much loved in his stomping ground. Very true. So were the Bickett boys. So was that whole bunch. So was Bob Joe Shoemaker, the whole bunch around Marion and Washington County. And many took a social media to share remembrance of him on the Facebook page of Bickett and Boone and Joe Keith's as well. I've read quite a bit of them. Man, was that something. He was a great friend of many of us, Bickett wrote, always willing to help his friends and neighbors. Prayers and thoughts to all the Boone family. He will be greatly missed. Whew, man. Wow. It's kind of tough, man. It's kind of tough. I hate to see him. Here's a picture of Johnny right here in his later years towards the end. Of course, on X here, this other dude writes about him. Sad. It's sad that that end has come. I hope I'll probably feel the same way when Joe Keith or Jimmy or any of the other boys pass. It's awful. Of course, I'm 52 years old, so I'm not necessarily looking down the barrel, but I'm on the back end of the game. Okay. These boys have really done something, and although they were the outlaws of Central Kentucky, they were good boys. They're still good boys, most of them, and just the thought of it. But anyway, Johnny Boone has passed. You get a chance, and you want to say a prayer for him and his family. That they would all be greatly appreciative of it, and hopefully, when you get over the mountain, you'll get to meet up with him there, and y'all can smoke one together. It is what it is. Let's just be proud that Joe Keith has wrote these books that you can read, and Man, they are something. I'm just saying. Just saying. You cannot put them down if you're a reader. If you're not, maybe you should be. Apparently, there's some other things out there that they're looking to do with some film and some stuff, and we'll know more about that in a soon to be released, maybe something. But anyway, it was good to know you, Johnny. Well, I did. That's all I can say. I was proud to know him. We really lost a good one there, boys and girls. We really did.